The Daybreak Show.
Of course, what you find on the lips of everybody, every Nigerian, is how 2020 general election is going to look like. Everybody's interested, because it will go a long way to reshape on this country, to dictate how the future of the country is going to be. And however, there has been tension in the last few weeks, perhaps on selection of eventual candidates for the two major political parties. PDP as a well-organized, structured party with history of democratic culture ended up choosing Atiku Abubakar, by the last month end. And yes, APC was not actually able to come up with a presidential candidate until later last week. And however, having said to that, I'm sure the next order is who's going to run with both of them. It is critical because birds will not fly with a wing, and constitutionally you are expected to have your name submitted alongside your vice, as the case may be. And we have a lot of people in PDP who can comfortably and suitably serve as vice presidential candidate. But however, certain criteria must be put into consideration, and all of these criteria, sometimes one will conflict the other. But of course, you also have to have a good blend of of all of these criteria. One of it is what is the political network of the person who is going to serve as the vice president. That is very, very critical, because it's about voting, it's about number, it's about population. You also have to consider religious issue, because it has to to be balanced. You also have to consider principle of federal character. A presidential candidate will not come from the north and you expect his vice to come from the same zone. So you must also consider power blocks within the party. And when you say power blocks, because the party is made up of several caucuses. The National Assembly caucus is there; they will be interested. The NWC is also a caucus, very viable and strong caucus. You also have the Forum of the Governors, and the BOT, as well as other caucuses. You also have to look at the influence of political lobbyists within the party. So all of this you have to put on the table, because it is not something you make a mistake. And the critical objective is to have a running mate that will be of value addition. You also have to look at what is the political stamina of your vice, of the potential vice, and not only political stamina. You also have to consider political experience as well as financial stamina of the person. So all of this, you must look at it critically, and by the time you now have a good blend of all of these factors, then you can comfortably say this is what you want to do.
Now, considering all the caucuses you've mentioned, where do you think the pendulum would tilt to?
Well, naturally, you also have to consider what is happening on the other side, because when you are playing a game, right, you must also be watchful of the steps to be taken by your opponent. However, because we have chosen our presidential candidate from the northeast geopolitical zone, obviously we are looking at having his vice from the south, and south is divided into three: the southwest, the southeast, and the south. Obviously it will not come from southwest anyway, simply because a presidential candidate of the opposition party had emerged from the southwest. So definitely, if you put it here, you are likely not going to get any votes, right? So it will be sufficient for you to consider the neutral zones, which is the south and southeast. But when you look at it too, you must also consider the voting strength of both regions. And as of today, the south has six states and controlled majorly by PDP governors. It should have been the same for Southeast, but apparently some of the governors in Southeast were so impatient and disloyal that they had even left the party for presidential ambition. And I'm happy that none of them, not even a single one of them, was able to. For example, Governor of Ebonyi State left PDP simply because he thought that, of course, PDP was not going to give presidential, slot to the Southeasterner. And today, look at what he got from the presidential primary that he participated in. So, as of today, out of the 5 states in Southeast, I think PDP controls only 2, which is Abia and Enugu State. So, however, you will see that the voting population of Southeast is not as humongous as that of South. But apparently, if you look at it critically, the only 2 geopolitical zones that has not produced the president of the country in a very long time, however, is the Northeast and Southeast. So, and I think that's one of the reasons why the name of Emeka Ihedioha is being, prompted. You understand? But of course, I can comfortably tell you that the party may likely end up choosing a Southerner running mate. Why? Because of the voting population. You cannot consider. I mean, when you look at it very well, averagely you have an average of 1 million votes, being turned out from Rivers State at every election historically. And you will see that Delta State and Akwa Ibom State, they have a very strong voting population, and they are traditional PDP states. These are states that have never been lost to opposition since 1999. So all of this permutation will have to come into play, and they take prominence in the consideration of who is going to be the vice president.
Wike has been highly devoted to PDP even after losing. He came second to Atiku Abubakar. What power game of Wike will influence this choice?
Well, you will know critically that without being immodest, one of the people who has actually contributed, tremendously to the healthy existence of PDP in Nigeria today is Governor Nyesom Wike. He has been in PDP, in fact, since 1999. He was elected chairman of Obiakwa local government in 1999. He was there for 2 terms till 2007, and immediately after that he became the chief of staff to the then governor of Rivers State, that's the Shubike Amishi. And after that, in 2011, he was of course nominated as a junior minister, in the Federal Ministry of Education, and was subsequently promoted to substantive minister when Ajia Rukayat, the former Minister of Education, was sacked. And immediately after that, of course, he became the governor of Rivers State. So you know that his trajectory all along has been in PDP, and it's not only benefiting from PDP, he has also contributed immensely in return, both domestically and nationwide. I can tell you that there are a lot of states without governors in Nigeria that Wike has also extended to. I mean, it's a magnanimity to help strengthen the structure of the party, in those states. So apparently, it has a very robust and very rich, political curriculum. So I can tell you that it's quite suitable anyway. But of course, he also hailed from, a state that is traditionally PDP. And his choice, of course, will not be inimical to the party, because you must understand that the current super minister in APC is also from Rivers State. And Rivers State is highly critical to any political party in Nigeria. Just like APC will not want to lose Lagos State, PDP should not also be prepared to lose Rivers State for any political miscalculation. So in this regard, if our leaders are considering some of these things, then maybe that may, of course, serve as a ground for Wike's choice. But of course, it is not only that anyway. there are other factors that will still have to, come into play. Don't also forget that he participated in the last primary election, and he was heavily supported by, many of our governors. So by that extension, his choice, of course, will also placate some of these governors who feel that, of course, is their, it was their choice for presidential, slot. So you also have to consider all of this. And like I said, all of these caucuses will still have to meet, and the principle of give and take will have to set in.
Now, if you look at the pedigree of Wike, which grew up to the level of him contesting for the presidential election and losing to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and then the disaffection among the Southeasterners that they were not maybe given the presidential slot was not zoned to them, being that we've had a Northerner as president for 8 years and PDP is still picking the presidential candidate from the north. Won't that create a disadvantage if you truly do not go for somebody from Rivers State? More so when Magnus Abe is already campaigning for APC, like you said, the super minister Amici is there. If you now deviate from Rivers State and pick somebody outside Rivers State, don't you think that the PDP will be shortchanged somehow?
Yeah, apparently that's what I have elucidated earlier. All of these things require strategic thinking and strategic action, because you also have to consider what is running in the mind of the opposition. Like I said, Rivers State is not a state that PDP should prepare to lose. In this country, 2 states appear to be the most powerful state in Nigeria: Lagos State and Rivers State. And you
have to add Kano State too.
Yeah, okay, and perhaps Kano State. PDP should not, by any miscalculation, or sentimental judgment, lose Rivers State. And like I've said, that may, if it comes into the rational reasoning of our leaders, that may be in favor of Wike's choice as the running mate. However, you must also realize that when you take Rivers State, Akwa Ibom and Delta State are also very, very critical. Those are the 2 giant states in South region or in Niger Delta. So when you look at the selection on the table, or the choice of the probable vice presidential candidate within the party, you will see that it has been narrowed to those 3 states, because each and every one of them is very critical and strong in terms of voting population. Averagely, the vote that you can get from Delta State, span between 800,000 to 1 million, depending on on voters turnout at any election. The same thing goes to Akwa Ibom State. It's of course well populated as well, but however, like I have said, a lot of things will come into play, and the leadership of the party, because they have viable options, and when you have viable options, jumping into hasty conclusion may not readily come to mind. You will still have to take your time, because you will see that if you take this is good, if you take this is good, if you take this is good. And I think that is what is keeping the choice hanging till now.
All right, from what you've said, it is a bit fingers are pointing to a Christian as a running mate that will be chosen for Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. So, but what is, we've been having agitations too from some other quarters that a Muslim ticket should not go, or a Muslim Christian ticket can fly, or a Christian Muslim can fly. And we know that politics is also a game of calculation. We can just let's just expect the unexpected. So what is your own take on maybe a Muslim ticket or a Christian ticket for the PDP?
Well, we do not even have problem with religious consideration. Obviously, we have chosen a presidential candidate from the northeast, geopolitical zone, is apparently a Muslim. And if you are coming to the south, you know that south is of course well populated by Christians. You don't even have to struggle to get a Christian, a very strong Christian option in the south, unlike the APC. And they are being confronted with the choice of who is going to, and of course they are contemplating running a Muslim ticket. It is not like in 1992 when there was no tension in the country. This time around, Nigeria is so sensitive to religious issue, and when you look at what is happening, the insecurity and distrust among ourselves, you will know that it's not even an option that should even be put on the table. But of course, in any desperate bid to get power, you can jettison some of these sensitive issues, but I'm sure it is not even going to work. Even within APC, they have kept on frowning at it, because between me and you, for APC, it is obvious that they are going to choose, they are not made from the north, and if they want to choose one made from the north, it's either they consider the northwest or the northeast, as the case may be. And getting a very strong Christian in northwest that is the most populated in the country is difficult. You cannot easily get a Christian, strong option. And however, even if you get one, it's going to be in outright minority, and they are afraid. And like Tinubu group said this morning, that they should focus more on how to win the election rather than talking about position. Of course, I think it's a way to play down the issue of religious sensitivity in this game. And if they go to Northeast, like I told you, we will not pick a running mate from Southwest, because already we have a presidential candidate. So there's no way they will pick a running mate from Northeast that will not be overshadowed by Choice of Atiku as the presidential candidate of the opposition in that region. And you agree that, like I said, it's only Southeast and Northeast that has not produced the president of this country. So people of Northeast are also agitated. They also want to have their own finger in the pie. They want to produce the president as well, and this is the opportunity that they have, because the people of Northwest had kept on dominating the politics of the North, just like the people of Southwest, of course, will easily dominate the politics of the South. So all of these things, you have them on board. But for us in PDP, we don't even have problem. If you ask us to pick 100 vice presidential candidates who are Christian, we would definitely pick. And if you ask us to pick 100 vice presidential candidates who are Muslim, we will pick. So we are not constrained by that religious sentiment or choice.
All right, so how soon do you think we all will get to, because we are all anxious, everybody is waiting to get to the name of the running mate. So how soon do you think we'll get to, bearing in mind that they have till Friday to release the name of the running mate?
Yes, you have answered the question. If they have till Friday, then it can't be later than Friday. So obviously today is Tuesday, so we still have few more days, and like I told you, some of these things, it is not a straight line curve, and that is why the choice has to be tarried till perhaps the last day. There are a lot of factors that have been considered, and even when you look at APC on its own, some of the names they are bringing on board, like I said, they will end up choosing Muslim ticket. And I don't know how Nigerian will accept this. Christian Nation of Nigeria are already, warning against that. And even the Northern Christian Youth Group, is also warning against such insensitive selection and, of course, unbridled appetite for power. And I think that is the only thing that can make anybody choose or ignore religious issue. Just like somebody trying to say that he's going to play down the principle of federal character in this thing. So there are certain things that are sacrosanct. In fact, they are not even meant to be debated. But of course, when you are too desperate to do certain things that you should not do, you bring things that are not supposed to even be debated into national conversation, and it's bad.
Okay, you talked about factors. I guess it will be factors that will be considered before picking a running mate. So and you mentioned some earlier. You talked about interest and then the zone of the person. So what other major factors too would be looked into before
Well, I have said that political stamina of the vice presidential candidate has to be considered. You also have to consider the population of where he's coming from. You have to consider his political experience. Let me tell you, out of the 3 people that had been chosen, or 4, if I have to add Emeka Ihodia to it. Like I told you, I've just quickly told you the brief profile of Webenya's own wiki. And if you talk about Udom, you know quite well that, okay, Udom, of course, a chartered accountant, a seasoned banker, and a former secretary to the government of Akwa Ibom State and two-term governor of that state. You know quite well that with all of this, background, his political experience cannot be, underrated. And same thing goes to Governor Okowa. Governor Okowa is a grassroots politician, a former council chairman on two terms, and of course, a former commissioner, in Delta State. In fact, he superintended over 3 Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Water Resources, and Ministry of Health. A well-celebrated medical doctor, and perhaps, of course, a former senator in Delta North Central District. So, and then to town governor. So you will see that all of these people have rich political curriculum vitae. The same thing with Emeka Ihodia. You know that Emeka Ihodia was elected as governor of Imo State before Supreme Court judgment, came to relieve him of that position, and he was a former deputy speaker of House of Representatives. And you see that all of these people are well integrated. They understand politics of their zone, and they have played at national level. So they are well qualified. They are eminently qualified. So we are confronted with problem of choice, because we have on the table people with vast experience, people that are well accepted within their domain, and people who have kept on providing leadership, not only for their people, but also for their geopolitical zone, and by extension, for this country. They have also contributed immensely to national discourse and, policy development in this country. So PDP is blessed with that, and I'm sure that APC too, has people of similar quality, but they have their problem.
And it's just so, let me just say, it's just so unfortunate that it's only just one person that will be chosen. We can't have a vice president and then have a maybe vice president or vice president.
There are other positions, there are other positions. I can tell you, it's not only the vice presidential position that of course can keep you well established in the family. There are other positions too, and I can confidently tell you that they are also aware that it's only one slot for vice presidential, and there are other positions that some of these are leaders who still use to continue to add value to national development.
Yes, you sound comfortable. How do you feel about the protest votes, the obvious protest votes of you giving your presidential candidate to a northerner after 8 years of President Buhari, and then again the southeasterners getting ready, some of them southerners, the southerners who are also mostly of the Igbo ethnic group, getting ready to vote for Peter Obi?
Well, Peter Obi experiment would not be the first one. Just like Kwakwaso, adventure, into another political party. You obviously see that Nigeria has come to realize that two-party formation is one of the things that can continue to preserve our democratic experiment. It's not only in Nigeria that you have two strong major political parties. In the US, is a society that had practiced democracy for more than 2 centuries. It's either you are a Democrat or Republican to become a president of United States. With UK, it's either you are a conservative or Labour Party. So advanced democracy across the world has always oscillated, between two major political parties. So the Peter Obi experiment or Kwakwaso experiment, to me, may not, because between me and you, for you to even become the president of the country, you need a political platform that is spread all over. You may be popular on social media, but on the day of election, if you do not have structure in all of this polling area, nobody is going to take your matter to the grassroots. And this election, are not won on social media. So for me, I sympathize with them. Yes, they are going to make statement, but I can tell you that it is not a statement that will be capable of, changing the equation of either PDP or APC. But however, you will see that the two major political parties, did not choose their candidate from Southeast. I said earlier that in this country, two geopolitical zones, have not produced the president of Nigeria, and the Northeast is also equally affected the same way Southeast is affected. So, and we have now, by our wisdom, that okay, it is Northeast and Southeast that has not produced the president. Definitely, we can comfortably take any one of them if we want to be fair. You understand what I'm saying? And that was what we did. So, I'm not sure that APC consider that, right? And let me also tell you this. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar that we chose, if you remember, in 1992, Alhaji Abubakar was, was appealed to step down for Shifemko Abiola. And that was why Shifemko Abiola was able to defeat Alhaji Baba Gana Kinkibe in the rerun election of the Social Democratic Party Congress that took place in just that time. So if not for Alhaji Abubakar, Shifemko Abiola that we are all celebrating today would not even have emerged as the presidential candidate of Social Democratic Party, because at that primary in just three of them, of course qualify for the run election, and late Musa Yar'Adua appealed to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar to step down for Shifemko Abiola so that his emergence could be easy, and at the end of the day he did. So when we look at history, people who had actually demonstrated a gentlemanly conduct in their political trajectory should also be given recompense. And I can tell you that with this sentiment, you will see that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is the friend of Southwest. And not only that, he's only person among those that are aspiring today who is nationalistic in everything. Of course, he married from Yoruba land. One of his wives is from here, and one of his wives is also from the Southeast. So we, at this time of the in the life of this country, we need somebody who can unite us. Not only unite us by word of mouth, but by the fact that I am one of you. I have some of my children from your stock. So, and the tension in the country can naturally go down. So we don't want somebody who is, of course, who can be cornered to just one area of the country. We have somebody who has spread all over. Family tie, social network, friendship, business wise, everything. And I can tell you that one person that you can actually, found in his CV to have this national spread is Alhaji Atiku. By 2015, he also wanted to run. And another brothers, came to the round table and said, no, if you go and run again, that will have extended, the presidency in the South, to 18 years. Because already at the end of 2015, we had already had South ruling for 14 years, right? So, and that was what led to, some of the governors from the North walking out of the convention that we had that time. So, and instead for us to reason with them, we didn't. And of course, we went into that election with a Southern president, and overwhelmingly the Northerners didn't vote for PDP. So we lost. And in 2023 now, we're talking about where should the presidency go, and we set up a zoning committee. And at their meeting, they considered that okay, because we didn't want to fall into the same pit we fell into in 2015. And another brother said that okay, PDP had ruled for 16 years. You had 14 out of 16. We had only 2. So if you have to, fire a shot now, why should you go to the South again? If truly PDP is a national party, you understand? So at that point, there was nothing we could say. Because apparently before you even talk about global perspective, you also have to look at what is obtainable within your family. So within our family, PDP had, South had 14 out of 16, and we could not ask our northern brother to shut up, right? Okay, they also brought an argument because we were saying that, okay, if it must come to the south, they were asking which geopolitical zone will it go in the south. The leading candidate in PDP was not even from south, and they said, okay, the southeast and northeast has not produced the president. So if we have to balance this power, let it be thrown open between either a southeasterner or northeasterner. So that was it. But let me also say this: by 2023, this democratic experiment will have lasted for 24 years. The south had 14 and the north has 10. So where has the south been changed if they have 14 out of 24?
Daybreak. The Daybreak Show.